Boris Continuum offers a massive range of filters and effects for image stylization. But how do we focus these effects on particular parts of an image? You can use multiple video tracks or layers to achieve this, but I'm going to show you how to do this easily with a single layer using the Continuum filters and the integrated pixel chooser. I'm Grant K for Boris FX, and let's get started. So in the first of two examples, we want to take a close-up of an American football player and create a sense of bewilderment and lightheadedness. This is obviously from the perspective of an opposing player who has taken a few tackles and is looking directly at our subject. But we also want to ensure that whatever we do, the player's intense stare is the focal point of the shot. To do this, we'll use a Continuum Plus filter with the integrated pixel chooser. Start off by selecting your layer and applying the BCC Plus atmospheric glow. Now with most filters, you apply them, play with their settings until you get something, and then move on. Boris FX Continuum filters are a bit different in that respect. After applying the filter, I tend to go straight into the effects controls and launch the effects editor. The effects editor is a great tool to browse presets and design your effects in a user-friendly and dedicated environment. To the left, you have all the presets to choose from, and you can also save your own. In the middle is the viewer to see the results of the effect, and the right side is all the parameters you can adjust when designing a look. We'll use the default look as a good starting point. The first thing we'll do is turn off the fog and volumetric rays. Now let's customize the glow to create a light-headed feel to the effect. This can be achieved by increasing the intensity and radius of the glow. You can also play with the threshold to really push the glow further. That should be fine. Next, let's add in some moving orbs to further push the feeling of disorientation of the opposing player. We'll push the orb count to around 150 and add some randomness to the brightness and size of the orbs. I would also recommend adjusting the fall-off to lessen the intensity of the orbs at the edges of the frame. Previewing this result in the effects editor, we have got the look we want. However, we want the eyes to be the focal point of the shot, therefore nothing should cross over this region. To control where the effects occur on your image, you would normally use a mask, matte, or alpha. The effects editor makes this easy, as you can simply switch from the effects controls to the integrated pixel chooser just by switching the tabs. In addition to this, the pixel chooser also has its own set of presets on the left. So you can make use of the pre-made ones, as well as save your own settings as custom mattes. Let's start with the default preset and create our own matte. Now we are focusing on the eyes, so let's go to the last frame of the shot. To use the pixel chooser, set it to on. Currently, nothing is applied, so it doesn't make much of a difference at this point. Here you can use a mask shape, a gradient, matte tools, depth map ML, and face ML to isolate a part of your image. You can even combine a range of these tools if you want. Let's start off using a mask shape. Choose an ellipse in the pull-down menu. You will see your effect within the shape, but depending on your content or effect, it may be difficult to see what's actually being masked. To give you better visual feedback when setting your masks and mattes, set the pixel chooser to mask unchosen pixels. This gives us an overlay over the image in the viewer instead of the effect. The transparent regions is only where the effect will occur, and the red region is the exclusion zone. Scale the mask down and increase the feather to remove the hard edge. Next, holding Shift-Command for Mac or Shift-Alt for Windows, adjust the mask using the small increments to position it over the eyes of the subject. Now switch the pixel chooser back to on, and you will see the effect constrained by the mask. It's the wrong way around in this case, so check Invert Mask in the mask parameters. We're almost there, but I still feel that we need to blend the orbs further into the shot. The great thing about Pixel Chooser is that we don't have to use only one of the available options. better masks can be made by clever mixing. Let's combine another tool. To make this visually obvious, you can look at the current matte by checking this box. Open the matte parameters and change the channel selection to Luma, which stands for luminance. So we're using the brightness within the image to affect how the matte will look. But even better than that, the pixel chooser is already combining the result of the mask shape with the luminance matte. Let's bring the white levels all the way down and blur the key a bit. Similar to shape mask, the effect will occur in the darker areas of the image. Disabling the view matte, you can see how the effect is much more subtle through the key. At any time, we can adjust the levels to add more or less of the effect around the subject with this technique. Click Apply to return to your host, and you can preview the result. For any tweaking, you can either go back into the effects editor or adjust the parameters directly in your host's effects control panel. The tools are the same wherever you choose to use them. The second example is also a stylized look, but this time we'll also use machine learning tools with the pixel chooser. To start, this shot appears pretty ordinary with the dancer, but we're about to change that. Let's create a blended analog look with some scanlines. Select the layer and apply the BCC Plus scanline filter. As mentioned previously, you can tweak the look in your host controls, but the effects editor offers so much more. Click the effects editor to open it. To move things along, let's select the fine rolling preset. Even though this is a preset, you can still edit it further. For example, let's make the scan lines slightly bigger. Next, let's add some color tinting. Open the tint parameters and enable the tool. To add some color, check the color option. Playing the result, you can see we have an orange scanline look. Let's push the visual even further. Open the glitch parameters and turn them on. Playing the viewer, the glitch is too much. So bring down the intensity and the interval to lessen the effect. Also, disable the block damage to remove that element from the glitch. So here is our effect, and let's use the pixel chooser to isolate parts of the image. Turn the pixel chooser on, and let's go straight to the Depth Map ML tool. Enabling the Depth Map ML will load the machine learning model, and you'll see the result in a second or two. That does look really cool, but we want the effect to be behind the dancer and not on him. Let's view the matte to see what is happening. So the whiter areas display the effect, and the darker areas do not. This needs reversing and tweaking to get the right look. Start off by inverting the depth matte and bring the near level right down. Next, bring the far level up slightly. The background should now be solid white, which is where the scan lines will appear. I'm also going to change the depth model to improve the result. For this example, I will use the best setting for the Depth Map ML v1.0. This model is great for creating depth maps for long scenes with loads of depth. My best advice to you is to always try the different models to see which gives you the best results for your specific shot. Turn off the view matte to see the result. Not bad. Even though this matte has been produced using machine learning, you can still tweak it a bit. For instance, we can open the matte tools and choke the matte slightly to get right to the light edges on the dancer. Let's also blur the edges to help sell the effect. So that's working perfectly well, and we can start previewing a few frames, but I think we need to blend the scan lines better with the bottom of the image. Switching back to the effects controls, go to the tint parameters again and enable the gradient mode. Using the on-screen widgets, you can adjust the bottom left and right to blend the color with the background to make it more subtle. Let's apply this result from the effects editor. To add one more finish to the shot, let's go ahead and add a film stock to enhance the overall look. We'll use the BCC Plus film stock filter. Jumping into the effects editor, I'll reset the curve and reshape it into an S curve to make more contrast and depth. I'll also push up the master saturation, and very quickly we have a very color-rich look. Applying this on top of the scanlines look creates a very vibey and fresh stylization to the shot. All this has been achieved by combining some complex mattes straight in our effect. No extra layers or tracks needed. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to let us know in the comments. We also have the official Boris FX forums, as well as the Boris FX Discord server for bigger discussions. I'm Grant K for Boris FX, and see you next time.